A memo sent out to researchers at the University of New Mexico last week urged them to spend all of their federal National Institute of Health grant funds as uncertainty looms over what income streams will remain. Trouble is brewing between the two largest businesses in New Mexico's craft beer scene. And journal photojournalist Chancey Bush was recognized by the National Press Photographers Association as the 2024 South Regional Photographer of the Year. From the Albuquerque Journal, this is the leading news. I'm Gino Gutierrez. Today is Wednesday, May 14th, and I'll have more on those stories in a few moments, plus a look at other headlines and the weather forecast on the other side of this break.
This episode is brought to you by the Kirtland Partnership Committee. For 30 years, we've been dedicated to supporting, growing, and preserving the Kirtland National Security Complex. We work tirelessly to enhance military readiness, foster community partnerships, improve quality of life, and promote economic development right here in New Mexico. Join us in our mission to ensure that Kirtland remains a cornerstone of national security and a key provider of quality jobs and investment for all of Greater Albuquerque. Together, we can make a powerful impact. Kirtland Partnership Committee, proudly shaping the future of our national security for 30 years.
A memo sent out to University of New Mexico researchers Friday, urging them to spend all of their federal National Institute of Health grant funding as uncertainty looms over what income streams from Washington, D.C. to the largest college in New Mexico will remain. Journal reporters Noah Kalabach and Kathy Cook penned a story in today's Journal about this issue and are in conversation about their story.
Hey, I'm Journal Education reporter Noah Kalabach.
And I'm Journal reporter Kathy Cook.
And today we wrote a story about the way that NIH funding cuts are affecting UNM.
UNM has had substantial funding cuts over the last few months from NIH grants being terminated. It was around $36 billion. Is that right, Noah?
Yeah, it was about $36 million. They also, in a memo that we reviewed, instructed all of their researchers to pretty much spend all their federal NIH dollars because they really don't know when those streams, if they're going to continue or necessarily what's going to happen.
Right. That memo outlines that no-cost extensions for NIH grants have been temporarily disabled. We'll see if that's possible again. A no-cost extension is basically when you have a grant that you've already been awarded and you've started working on and you think you might need some more time to do the work, but you don't need more money to do the work. So you ask NIH, can we have an extension? It won't cost you any money. And they give you more time to spend down that grant. So this memo says you're not going to get more time. Spend all that money by the grant deadline. We also went to UNM campus Friday. Do you want to tell us a little about the researchers we met there?
Yeah, happy to. It wasn't a massive crowd or anything, obviously, getting towards the end of the semester, so that makes sense. We did speak with a few students there. I spoke with at least one who was, their research was funded largely through a T-32 NIH grant, and she told me that has been pulled. There were other, researchers we spoke to who had, serious concerns about the sustainability in academia, and it kind of conjoined with these funding cuts, and really just questions about what their future at the university looked like as a result.
Right. I spoke to one researcher who's a postdoctoral fellow, and she's concerned because she primarily researches LGBTQ health issues. And so she's not expecting the grant she's applied for to be approved given the Trump administration's priorities. So that's a concern.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting too, one of the students that I spoke with, mentioned that the grant that she was researching on, largely helped students that were from underserved backgrounds or from, minority communities. It's worth noting, and we didn't include this in our story, but UNM was one of 49 post-secondary institutions that kind of caught the ire of the Trump administration a few months back when they launched a civil rights complaint looking into a PhD program that did promote a lot of the values and diversity, equity, and inclusion, which we've kind of seen the Trump administration take action to change or reduce.
Well, and if we zoom out to the bigger picture, a report was released this week that was authored by Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. It's a Senate committee report that says the Trump administration's cut $2.7 billion in NIH funding in the last 3 months, which is really significant. That's a lot of money cut very quickly. And so depending on your perspective, that's good news or bad news, but it's certainly a significant amount of funds to cut.
And Kathy, let me ask you this, coming from the federal perspective, if this proposed budget goes through, is it just going to be a different kind of scene funding-wise when students return for this next semester, if they do in fact return?
So the Trump administration released a proposed budget, I think several weeks ago, and it includes an $18 billion cut for NIH funding. Usually the White House's proposed budget isn't what ends up being signed into law. It's like like the starting point for negotiations with Congress. So we'll see. I mean, it's clear the Trump administration wants to cut more money from NIH and it wants to deprioritize certain subjects like climate change. But we'll see what Congress does. It's unclear how much will actually get cut in that federal budget.
It'll be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
Well, thanks for talking with me, Noah.
Yeah, thanks for talking with me, Kathy.
A legal battle has erupted between New Mexico's two largest craft breweries, Santa Fe Brewing Company and Marble Brewing Company. The battle centers around Jared Babinsack, a former Santa Fe Brewing Company employee who is now a co-owner at Marble. Santa Fe Brewing Company filed a lawsuit against Babinsack in the First Judicial Court District, accusing him of breach of contract and fraud.
They're alleging is that essentially after he was turned down from buying a stake in Santa Fe Brewing Company,
My colleague Jillian Barkhurst is a reporter at the Journal.
he presented a severance package that Santa Fe Brewing Company is saying he did not fulfill. Essentially, he got upfront money. He was to be on call essentially as a consultant. And then what they found out later is that he had used, supposedly and allegedly, used that money to buy stake in Marble, which is their biggest competitor. They're the two biggest, craft breweries in New Mexico.
However, on January 3rd, just one day after his employment officially ended, Marble announced Babinsack as its new co-owner. Santa Fe Brewing Company claims he was still under contract for consulting work during this period and that he attempted to recruit Santa Fe Brewing Company employees to join him at Marble. The brewery contends it would not have agreed to a severance arrangement had it known Babinsack intended to move to a direct competitor. Santa Fe Brewing Company is now seeking punitive damages, alleging he used insider information to harm the company. Babinsack has acknowledged the lawsuit but declined to comment in detail, stating only that the matter is being addressed with proper guidance and his focus remains on building the Marble team. Journal photographer Chancey Bush was recently recognized by the National Press Photographers Association as the 2024 South Regional Photographer of the Year. To discuss this achievement and all the work that went into it, I'm joined by Chancey now. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Gino.
So Chancey, congratulations first and foremost on this amazing accomplishment. I was hoping you could share a little bit more about this award with our listeners.
Yeah, so NPPA's monthly clip contest takes place every month throughout the year. The contest is divided into 9 regions. New Mexico falls into the South region, which also includes Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Texas. So the competition consists of 7 categories: general news, features, sports features, portraits, spot news, and photo stories. So photographers can earn points by placing first, second, or third in these categories. And at the end of the year, the photographer with the highest points in each region will be honored as the Regional Photographer of the Year.
And Chancey, I'm curious, and I'm sure our listeners are as well, you shoot assignments year-round dealing with different subject matter. So how did you exactly go about narrowing down the photos you wanted to submit? Because I would imagine that would be a pretty difficult task.
It's definitely challenging. We capture a lot of stories every month, so going through those takes some time. But I always look for photographs that tell a story, that capture emotion, moments, that make you feel something when you look at them.
So Chancey, as you mentioned earlier, this is a year-long process. You're submitting photos every single month. So I'm curious now at the end of it, what's been the most memorable part of all of this for you?
The most memorable part was actually being named Regional Photographer of the Year. It definitely took me by surprise. I hadn't been keeping track of my monthly wins, so I didn't expect it at all. I was honored, honestly. I mean, there's so many amazing photojournalists out there, and I feel very humble and grateful to be recognized.
And Chancey, after you won the award, you wrote a couple prompts for the National Photographer Press Association about what photojournalism in the field means to you. I was wondering if you could share a little bit of that with our listeners.
Yeah, I mean, it's more important now than ever to continue capturing objective truths and sharing the stories of those whose voices have been silenced. Photographs of the human experience help us all stay connected and raise awareness of issues, cultures, and events across the globe that give us a better understanding of who we are.
So Chancey, again, congratulations for this great honor, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Gino.
In other headlines from the newsroom, a large fire erupted Tuesday afternoon in an industrial area near Interstate 25 in Comanche in Albuquerque. The blaze sent thick smoke into the air, and Albuquerque Fire and Rescue and Bernalillo County Fire Rescue responded to the blaze at the property of Niketa Northeast. By 7 p.m., the fire was not yet under control, but had been significantly reduced. One person, identified as the property owner, was injured. Strong winds with gusts reaching 38 miles per hour fueled the flames, which rapidly spread and drew crowds of onlookers. Workers at nearby Premier Distributing Company evacuated as the fire approached. Witnesses reported the fire may have been started with burning pallets, but the official cause remains unknown. Bernalillo County Treasurer Tim Etchenberg violated the county's code of conduct by hiring former county clerk Linda Stover just one day after her term ended. That's according to a county ethics board ruling on Tuesday. The county ordinance requires 1 year of a quote cooling off period for a former elected official before taking county jobs. This was the rule Etchenberg bypassed when hiring Stover on January 1st, 2025 with a salary of $128,265. However, the ethics board said it couldn't weigh in on Etchenberg's argument that state law, not county ordinance, governs such hires, citing a lack of jurisdiction. Etchenberg is challenging the ordinance in district court, arguing that state law gives elected officials authorities to hire deputies and that a previous vote to repeal part of the ordinance was valid. The matter now heads to the county manager's office for further review, with a final ethics board ordered by May 28th. Meanwhile, Stover will continue to work in the treasurer's office. And New Mexico is launching a new business incubator, NM Nexus Center, in Albuquerque's Mesa del Sol to attract foreign companies looking to establish a U.S. presence. Set to open on June 1st, the center will initially host 7 companies from India and Oman who are involved in sectors like manufacturing, data privacy, and food processing. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham announced the initiative during a Select USA summit, projecting the potential for 1,500 new jobs over 5 years if the companies expand locally. She emphasized that the center is a quote launchpad, not a quote soft landing for international firms. The project stems from a 2023 trade mission to India and will be led by business consultant Amal Vikil. While no state incentives are currently being offered, future support may be available if companies grow their footprint here in New Mexico. The center is backed by partnerships with groups in Oman, Ghana, and India to help identify new business prospects. State officials see the initiative as a way to diversify New Mexico's economy, traditionally reliant on tourism, federal spending, and energy. If you like hearing all of the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal here on the Leading News, consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal. You can check our show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription and keep up with all the latest news from New Mexico's leading news source. Now taking a look at Albuquerque's weather forecast. Today you can expect sunny skies with a high near 80, and for this evening mostly clear with a low around 42. To keep up with all the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal, you can visit our website at abqjournal.com. That's the Leading News. I'm Gino Gutierrez. We'll be back tomorrow.